Over the past year, my marriage has started to feel more like a business arrangement than a loving partnership. I never imagined we would end up like this. We were once the couple others admired, the kind of pair people assumed would last forever. But sometimes, what's seen on the outside hides what's slowly falling apart within. In the beginning, our relationship felt full of life. We were tender with each other, always supportive, and deeply in tune, both emotionally and physically. But over time, something began to change. At first, it was subtle, easy to dismiss. I told myself it was probably the stress from work, the weight of day-to-day responsibilities, or just the routine of life wearing us down. I gave her space, didn't push, thinking maybe she just needed a little breathing room. But the distance between us only grew wider with time. I remember reaching for her hand at night, and she'd gently pull away. I planned quiet dinners, spontaneous getaways, small gestures to reconnect, but there was always a reason not to go. Whenever I brought up our lack of intimacy, she'd say she was tired, not in the mood, or just not feeling like herself. I tried asking what was wrong, whether something between us had changed, but she always reassured me that things were fine. And yet, when someone you love keeps turning away, those words lose their comfort. At first, I thought the problem might be me. Maybe I wasn't showing enough affection or wasn't doing enough around the house. So I stepped up, took on more responsibilities, made her favorite meals, gave her even more space, hoping she'd eventually miss me, want me again. But the space I created didn't draw her back, it turned into a wall. She used to look at me like I mattered. Now it was like I barely existed. Our conversations became brief and practical, centered around chores, bills, errands. She never asked how I was doing, not really. Internally, I was unraveling. I felt rejected and unwanted, and I started to understand that intimacy isn't just about touch. It's the closeness that binds two people together. I felt that bond unraveling a little more every day. I suggested we try couples therapy, thinking it might help us reconnect, but she dismissed the idea, said I was overthinking. That response stayed with me. It made me wonder if I was being too emotional, too needy. Doubts crept in, and slowly, I started to withdraw too. I stopped trying so hard. No more late-night attempts to cuddle, no more quiet kisses before sleep. I began closing off the part of me that longed for her, that hoped she'd reach back. If she didn't want me, I wouldn't keep asking for what she wasn't willing to give. Oddly enough, that's when she noticed. She started asking why I seemed distant. At first I said nothing. I didn't want to argue. But it was clear that she didn't like seeing her own indifference reflected in my silence. She began to rely on me again, asking for help here and there. And for a while I went along with it. But eventually, I stopped saying yes to everything. Not to punish her, but because I'd finally realized that if my feelings didn't matter to her, I couldn't keep sacrificing myself to meet her needs. This wasn't spite. It was self-respect. She didn't take it well. Accused me of being cold, selfish, distant. But I stayed calm. I told her the truth. Every time I tried to get close, she pushed me away. Every time I opened up, she shut down. And now, I was just giving her the same distance she had given me. For once, she didn't argue. She just sat there quiet. Maybe my words finally sank in. Maybe she saw, really saw, what I had become. Someone who had stopped chasing her love. A few days later, she asked to talk. This time, there were tears. She admitted she hadn't fully realized how shut off she'd been. That she was overwhelmed, likely depressed, and didn't know how to talk about it. She said she was sorry. That she had taken me for granted, thinking I'd always be the one trying to hold us together. I listened. I didn't rush to forgive her. Apologies are easy. Real change is what matters. I told her I needed space too. Not to hurt her, but to figure out if we could still rebuild what we lost. Since then, she's been making small efforts. She booked us a session with a counselor. She's been more affectionate, even if it's just in small ways. They're not dramatic gestures, but they're something. For the first time in a long while, I'm not the only one putting in the effort. That means something. I'm not proud that I had to emotionally pull back to get here. It's not who I am. But I learned something important. Love can't be one-sided forever. You can't keep pouring into someone who gives nothing back. These days, We still have our tough moments. But at least we're being honest. She's no longer just expecting from me. And I'm no longer giving more than I should. We're learning to meet somewhere in the middle. I don't know if this will save our marriage or just soften the landing if it ends. But one thing I do know, I won't beg for love. And I won't keep giving from a place that's empty. Not again.